Phoenix Suns right now.
Well, Alvin Gentry has changed the culture of this team. They believe they can win with toughness. They can win with rebounding and defense. And in the first two games, we saw a little bit of all of that. In game one, it was Steve Nash. In the transition game, in game two, it was the rebounding. And quite simply, they were tougher than the San Antonio Spurs, something we could never say about previous Phoenix Suns teams. And by the way, to be here, this is going to be great.
One change for the Spurs tonight with the details. Here's Rick Bucher.
Thank you very much, Dan. Tony Parker is making his first start since breaking his right hand back on March 6th. Greg Popovich, coach, said he's making the change because he wanted that emotional boost at the beginning of the game. And he also needs somebody to slow down Steve Nash, who is averaging 26 points and 8 assists on 62% shooting against George Hill. The hope is that he can make a change on that and get them going. Dan?
Rick, thank you. The starting lineups tonight, we begin with the visiting Phoenix Suns. Alvin Gentry will stay with the same starting five. Nash alongside Jason Richardson. In the backcourt, Grant Hill, Amare Stoudemire, and Jaron Collins up front for San Antonio. As mentioned, Tony Parker back into the starting lineup alongside Manu Ginobili, Richard Jefferson, Tim Duncan, Antonio McDyess. Scott Foster, James Capers, Bill Kennedy are our officials, and we are underway at the AT&T Center. Parker defending Nash, who had just a monster game one with 33 points and 10 assists. And JB, he was in attack mode right from the get-go. Here's Amare Stoudemire in attack mode, a block by Tim Duncan. Stoudemire misses the jumper, and here come the Spurs. Parker hits Jefferson, who misses the jam. Nash cross-court. Jason Richardson averaging better than 23 points per game in the playoffs. Turns it over to Manu Ginobili. Parker spins inside. The floater a little bit short. Rebound Nash. Phoenix will look to run. They have scored 110 or more points in all 5 games against the Spurs this year. 3 regular season and 2 in the playoffs.
And the difference between this Phoenix Suns team, this matchup, is that San Antonio is not as well equipped to outscore the Phoenix Suns. They cannot afford to get an up-and-down game as Stoudemire misses another.
McDyess upset. He might have taken an elbow to the side of the head. A little bit shaken up late getting into the play. Now he and Duncan make it over half court. Ginobili's been more of a facilitator, at least in game 2. Had 11 assists in game 2. McDyess open from 17. A quiet 6 points, 6 rebounds a game kind of guy. But boy, do they need his defense on Amare Stoudemire.
Well, and they need him to knock down that perimeter shot. He's shooting 53% in the playoffs. Very important. They are struggling with Bonner and all the guys off the bench. McDyess got to be a guy that knocks down that open shot.
Stoudemire the offensive rebound, and they'll reset. Good matchup here, Richardson and Ginobili. 37-year-old Grant Hill playing some great basketball, JB, at both ends of the floor.
He is. Guarding Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker at times. 18 huge points in game 2. Grant Hill, first time getting out of the first round in such a long career. I was shocked when I heard that.
Parker looking for Ginobili. They're bumping him as he tries to get through the paint. Open is McDyess again, and he knocks down another one.
The Phoenix Suns want to get the ball out of Manu Ginobili's hands. Any pick and roll, they're going to jump him. They're going to double team.
Stoudemire turns it over. So Stoudemire already 0 for 3 and a travel in the first 2.5 minutes. Alvin Gentry looking on. What a job he did after he took over midway through last year. Officially became the head coach after last season. And the Suns finished as the number 3 seed in the West. Considered a surprise by many. And then took care of Portland in 6 in the first round. It's all McDyess right now for the Spurs.
Collins with a bad gamble there. He got to stay behind McDyess. He's not a back-to-the-basket player. That time gambles and gives up an easy one.
Jefferson on Nash right now. Here's the mismatch inside. Richardson and Parker. Stoudemire off his leg, out of bounds. It's going to stay at this end of the court.
Stoudemire needs to calm down, let the game calm down. A little bit overzealous here to get started as he puts the ball on the floor, and clearly it did go off of Ginobili's leg. Good call.
So Nash to inbound with a 9 on the shot clock. Hill through the hands of Stoudemire. Boy, is he out of sorts early. Richardson, a deep one with the shot clock running down. What a weapon he has been in the playoffs.
Well, I would say that he's the difference maker for the Phoenix Suns. 30-4 when he scores 20 or more, and he has been absolutely red hot in the playoffs. 53% from the three-point line throughout this year's playoffs.
Tim Duncan is held by Collins. Duncan coming off a big-time performance in Game 2 in spite of the loss by San Antonio. 29 points, 10 rebounds for Duncan, who yesterday was named third-team NBA. That means in all 13 years he's been in the league, he's been named to an all-NBA team.
Yeah, pretty incredible. And I think Greg Popovich has done a great job with Duncan this year in saving his legs. Sat him in a lot of back-to-back games this season. Sacrificed wins. Basically, he didn't go after wins. He didn't care. He wanted to get in the playoffs. 7th seed, 3rd seed, it didn't matter to him. Just get there, have his team healthy, and that's exactly what's happened with this Spurs team.
Duncan only 31 minutes per game in the regular season, 37 minutes per game in the playoffs.
And the free throws a bit of an issue here, 50% in the playoffs after shooting a respectable 72 during the season.
Phoenix winning the first 2 games at home, 110-102 and 111-102. They took 2 of 3 during the regular season. Richardson not this time. Jefferson with a rebound. What an X factor he may be for the Spurs. So up and down all season long. Ginobili swings it to Parker. Duncan the screen. They get the switch. Nash recovers to get it back on Parker. Jefferson drives. Hill knocks it away.
A great defense, Hill.
Stoudemire knocks down Ginobili. They play on. Hill, the 18-footer. He made 3 big jump shots in the 4th quarter to help seal Game 2.
He had Tim Duncan isolate on him in that 4th quarter, that 2nd game, and he did knock down huge jump shots. Always been an excellent mid-range shooter.
Great matchup at the point. Tony Parker, Steve Nash. Parker gets inside. Kicks to Ginobili for 3.
Well, that's a terrific sign, Dan. After Ginobili had the injury to the nose against Dallas, shooting around 30% since that time. Hasn't taken away his aggressiveness, but he's not shot the ball well.
Nash a miss. Back come the Spurs. Parker waves Jefferson through. Here comes Duncan. Parker inside. Jefferson open. And a loose ball foul will go against Phoenix. It'll be Collins, his 2nd, and Channing Frye is going to make an early entry into the game.
Well, you can't blame Alvin Gentry for waiting too long to put Channing Frye in the game. The hero from Game 2, 5 of 6 from the three-point line. Struggled a bit in the playoffs early, but when this guy can knock down three-point shots, the spacing it allows the Phoenix Suns makes them virtually unguardable.
Ginobili cutting. Offensive foul as he ran into Stoudemire. Got to say this for Ginobili. Playing with a broken nose has not curtailed his aggressiveness or his feistiness one bit.
No, it has affected the shooting percentage, but he's going to play the same way, and that's 110%, sticking his nose in there, if you will, and on every single play.
Nash, bullet pass into the post to Richardson. Hill gives it right back. Richardson, the jump hook, no. Rebound Jefferson. Duncan trying to go to work on Frye. Duncan inside. Now we had a delay of game warning against San Antonio. Evidently Duncan may be touching the ball after it went through the basket. That's one way to try to slow down the Suns.
Well, it's a great idea. We hate to get caught that early, but good idea by Duncan as we see him go up and score and clearly grab the ball. Yes, it's the right call. Usually they let that go early, but
5-point lead for the Spurs. Virtual must-win, down 2-0. No team has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit to win a series in the NBA playoffs. Nash a miss. And by the way, just being up 2-0 in a best-of-7, historically, the team up 2-0 has won 94% of the time. But so far, so good for the Spurs on their home court in JV. Of all people, Antonio McDyess has been the go-to guy.
Well, the Spurs struggling to shoot from the perimeter, but not McDyess. He got the Spurs off to a great early start. They're gonna.
It's 2-0, but really all they've done is hold home court. So when you go down to what's the urgency, game 3, or is there any urgency?
We probably should try hard to win that game. That would be the urgency. Jeez, oh whiz, guys, come on.
Can you learn
Think of a question.
from being in this position against the Hornets 2 years ago?
What?
You were in a similar
Think about the
position.
Hornets 2 years ago?
You were in a similar position. Lost
No,
the
I
first
won't
two on
think
the
about
road.
that at all. These guys are grown men. They don't need me to say. Now, remember the Hornets, fellas. We got to really pull it together for game 3. Maybe I'll talk about the Gipper.
Greg Popovich in his post-game press conference after game 2. The nice thing was you and I didn't, because of that, we didn't ask those questions of him before game 3 tonight. Scratch those off the list.
I was a bit apprehensive going in to talk to Coach Popovich tonight, but he was in a great mood. Oh, he's a beauty.
And as he told us, what he likes about, he just likes coaching. He likes practice. He likes players getting better. All the other stuff, it's foreign to him. He just likes trying to make a group of basketball players come together as a team. Defensive free second to call. George Hill, who's come in, misses the free throw. And obviously, with all the success he's had, 4 NBA championships and so forth, the man knows what he's doing. What does his team need to do better in order to win this game tonight?
Well, it's funny because transition killed them in game 1. Then they did a great job in game 2. In game 2, they had a whole new set of problems. Their rebounding was poor. They didn't shoot the ball well. So they have to do a combination of all that. They can't let Phoenix get out in transition. They got to do a better job of guarding the three-point line. And quite frankly, they need to knock down some perimeter shots.
Nash the foul, his first. So George Hill in for San Antonio. Manu Ginobili has gone to the bench. When you look at the second unit for the Spurs, which was such a strength for much of the season, Greg Popovich told us before the game, it's got to be George Hill. He has to carry that unit and have a big game if San Antonio is going to win tonight. Wouldn't hurt if Richard Jefferson had one of his better games as well.
Well, I think now with George Hill coming off the bench, there's even more pressure. Tony Parker coming off the bench. He was the bench. He accounted for 46 of the 59 bench points in the first 2 games as Richardson knocks down a three-point shot. He had 19 of 25 field goals, and he had 10 of the 13 assists. So you take Tony off the bench, you put him in the starting lineup. Now it's got to be George Hill because the rest of that group is really struggling.
Parker gets inside, got the rebound back, got it back again. And finally finishes. What an effort by Tony Parker.
How's the smallest man on the floor doing that around those trees?
Stoudemire. Spurs won't mind seeing him do more of that and a little bit less of dunking on pick and rolls from Steve Nash.
I think he's a little antsy right now. He's got to let the game come to him a little bit too fired up.
Open McDyess. He's had the hot hand early, a little strong. And back come the Suns, led by Nash. 2-time MVP. Led the NBA in assists this year, JB, for the 4th time in the last 6 seasons. He's supposed to be getting old. Sure doesn't look like it.
But he's given 9 years to Tony Parker.
Stoudemire, good help by Duncan. Here comes Parker. Here comes Hill, and he's fouled hard by Fry.
All right, that's a tough one, Dan.
Looks like
he really didn't use
a
his
flagrant
arms.
one.
You know, he hit him with his chest. Obviously, he's going to be off balance as he leaves his feet to go in the air. Tough call there, but certainly I think it looked a lot worse than it really was. Good fall there by George Hill. I mean, he did a nice job of protecting himself. He got his 2 hands down.
So it'll be 2 and the ball as Channing Frye pleads his case. Hill played very well in the first round against Dallas. And, of course, in the regular season was one of the most improved players in the NBA. One of Greg Popovich's favorite players. But scuffled in game 1 of this series and has really struggled defensively with Steve Nash when he's had to cover him so far in this series.
He has. He had back cuts. Jason Richardson hurt him on some back cuts. Grant Hill posted him up when he was on him. And I think it affected his offense. He got a little tentative until the second half of game 2 where he made some big shots.
Matt Bonner in for the Spurs. Jared Dudley off the Phoenix bench. He was a game changer for the Suns in game 2.
Big offensive rebounding. Had 3 three-point play opportunities. You see the patented Tony Parker runner.
A great start for San Antonio here at home in Game 3.
Well, they had a great start in Game 2. 10-point lead after one. And this new Phoenix Suns team battle back and show great resolve, and I expect them to do the same as Steve Nash gets in the lane and uses the left hand.
The Spurs switch it there, JB, as Duncan wound up on Nash.
Well, it's going to be a switch or a double team on Steve Nash all night long. Pop wants to get this team aggressive as Jared Dudley does it again on the defensive end.
What kind of problems does it pose for a small guard like Tony Parker to have a guy like Jared Dudley on? A 6'7" pest.
Well, that's what you want. You want to have a big body to affect those. As we see a switch here, Tim Duncan on Steve Nash is going to get that step-back jumper anytime he wants.
So the Spurs game plan, you say, is to either switch on the pick and roll or blitz Nash, try to get the ball out of his hands.
Exactly, and then now when he squares up Duncan, you have to run somebody at him. You got to get the ball out of Steve Nash's hands. You can't expect Tim Duncan to stay with Nash on the perimeter.
Bonner, he has been struggling with the outside shot. Just 5 of 20 from 3 in the playoffs. He needed that one. Richardson, tough catch, and the finish, another assist for Nash.
What a pass to put that right on the money. There's 3 Spurs there, and he drops it in there. Absolutely perfect for Richardson.
Manu Ginobili getting ready to check back in for San Antonio. Duncan the screen. Parker. Duncan. And a Phoenix foul that prevented Jefferson from getting a dunk. Now San Antonio leading by 7, but the Suns, Steve Nash, starting to figure out the new look Spurs defense tonight.
Well, if you're going to switch and you get Tim Duncan on you, Steve Nash knows he can get the pullback jumper at any time. And that time he knocks it down. The Suns back in this thing down 7.
In some ways, the series hasn't even really started yet. You know, all we did was hold home court. You know, if we don't win a game down here, we're right back to square one. If we don't win tonight, the momentum shifts. So there's no reason for us to be excited and, you know, feel like we've done something. We haven't done anything yet. We got to come out tonight, be extremely tough, focused, ready to play, and, you know, ready to face a tough atmosphere.
Spoken like a man who's been in a few playoff series, and like a man who's been in a few playoff series against the San Antonio Spurs. What a game 1 Nash had. Attacking early, distributing late, 33 points, 10 assists. The numbers a little bit smaller in game 2, but the impact he has on every single Phoenix possession, you just can't quantify it.
Right, and we asked him if he decides before the game whether he's going to be on the attack, be more aggressive, or just let the game come to him, and he says he doesn't know. He just feels it out, sees what the defense gives him, and that's what makes a true point guard. A guy that understands that, hey, maybe there are nights where I have to get 20, 25 points, but there are a lot of other nights where I just need to distribute. And nobody does it better than Steve Nash.
14th year in the NBA, 36 years of age. Named second team All-NBA yesterday. Duncan at the line, and he knocks them both down to extend the Spurs lead to 9. Parker has gone to the bench. Ginobili is back in. The 3 guards for 2 spots rotation. Ginobili, Hill, and Parker.
And we could see those 3 together as we did in game 2 in the 4th quarter when Phoenix plays small.
Fry. Normally more of a catch and shoot guy rather than spin or make any kind of a move before he launches the 3, but what a weapon he has been regular season and postseason for the Suns. Talk about a guy who found a home. Bonner, his second 3-pointer already. And JB, he was starting to run back before that ball hit the net. He was feeling good on that one.
Well, he's been struggling mightily. Couldn't make a shot in Phoenix. And here we go with the switch again. Duncan on Nash.
Stoudemire. Dudley passed it up. Fry's going to step into the 3. Rebound, Duncan. Hill. And Fry comes away with it.
Great defensive rotations by the San Antonio Spurs on that last possession. And that's what they need. They felt like they did a good job the other night in Phoenix.
Nash a turnover. Numbers for San Antonio. And Duncan is fouled. Ginobili upset with himself that he didn't deliver a better pass to Duncan, who may not have quite the lift he once had.
The Spurs obviously much more aggressive, and they are pushing the tempo. Teams that run do not like to be run upon. And San Antonio getting out, getting easy looks in transition.
And Duncan back to the line again for his 5th and 6th free throws already. On the NBA calendar tomorrow on ESPN at 5 Eastern, it's Game 3 between Orlando and Atlanta, with the Magic leading 2-0. ABC tomorrow night is Game 3 between the Lakers and Jazz. The Lakers are up 2-0, and then Game 4 of this series on TNT Sunday night. Earlier tonight, it was Cleveland absolutely crushing the Celtics in Boston, JB, in Game 3 to take a 2-1 lead in that series.
I think LeBron's elbow was okay today. 21 in the first quarter. That was a little bit of a message sender there that Cleveland says, you know what, Boston, we gave you one, but that's enough.
Nash, nice shovel pass to Louis Amundsen, who's just come in. He couldn't handle it. Still 5 to shoot. It'll be Richardson who knocks it down.
Much needed 3 there, as Phoenix has not been to the free throw line yet. I don't think San Antonio's committed a foul.
Jason Richardson in the postseason for just the 2nd time in his career, and certainly making the most of it. Ginobili wave it off. It's a travel. Scott Foster with the call, and you see how Ginobili feels about that.
Let's see here. He plants 1, 2. I'm okay with that move. Yep. The Euro 2-step. You see it all the time. I mean, this is a patent move from Manu Ginobili to avoid the charge. He moves to the side. Look kind of funny.
Duncan out, DeJuan Blair, the rookie out of Pittsburgh, into the game for the Spurs. His minutes somewhat reduced here in the postseason. Richardson behind the back. Ginobili gets to the deck first and comes up with the ball for the Spurs. What a play by Manu Ginobili. 6-second difference, game clock and shot clock. Standing O here for Ginobili and the Spurs. Manu. Blair had it out of bounds to Phoenix with plenty of time.
Manu Ginobili's left-handed, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Because he goes left every time. It's amazing. And I know people try to force him the other way. He's just so good in open space to try to get to the lane. That time he missed an easy one. You know he'd like to have that one back. But good opportunity here for Phoenix with 6.7 to go. They should get a good look.
Nash. Bogans will try to slow him down. He just came in. Nash for 3. And the first quarter comes to a close with the Spurs. A ton of energy. And they held the high-flying Phoenix Suns to just 19 points in the first quarter. Now here in San Antonio, the Spurs came in desperately needing a win, down 2-0. They are off to a good start on their home court, up by 9 at the end of 1.
Welcome back to San Antonio. I'm here with Coach Al Gentry. They're shooting better than 50% both overall and from three-point range. What's the problem right now with your defense?
Well, I mean, they're making shots. You know, we let Bonner out for a couple of open shots. We can't do that. Then we just got to be more efficient offensively. We weren't very good offensively that week.
What was the impact that Tony Parker back in the starting lineup had?
Well, nothing really. I mean, he's played 35 minutes in all the game, so it was just a start. They got off to a great start. It's a long, long game. We'll be okay.
Thanks, Coach.
Well, a great start for San Antonio, and 7 Spurs have already scored in this game, led by Matt Bonner and Antonio McDyess, each with 6. Meanwhile, for Phoenix, JB, it's kind of been Jason Richardson doing the bulk of the scoring.
Well, he's 4 of 6, and the rest of the Suns 4 of 15. Amari Stoudemire 0 for 5 in the first quarter. Obviously, Phoenix can't afford him to be scoreless. Now we're talking about a critical time in the game. We've got 5 bench players in the game for Phoenix: Dudley, Dragic, Fry, Barbosa, and Amundsen. This team rescued this team in both games 1 and 2. They played terrific. Jared Dudley was huge in game 2. Fry, obviously, with the three-point shooting. So we'll see if they can get the Phoenix Suns back in this game. Down 9 right now, dangerous time if it goes the other way.
And we see for the first time that 3-guard look you talked about for San Antonio with Hill, Parker, and Ginobili all in the game at the same time.
Well, who scores for Phoenix now? Who creates any fly? He's a spot shooter. You got to think Leandro Barbosa is that guy.
Hill. Bonner's hit a couple of threes already. Got tripped up by Channing Frye. That'll be the second foul on Frye.
Early fouls a problem in the first quarter for Phoenix. 9 free throw attempts for San Antonio, 0 for Phoenix in that first quarter.
We set the shot clock to 14 as Hill will inbound it. Goran Dragic defending Parker. Dragic, a much improved player here this season. Ginobili misses the three, and the rebound to Barbosa. Dudley, a terrific three-point shooter. Frye posting. You don't see him do that all that often. Misses the jump hook, and Blair gobbles up the rebound.
Well, you're right, Dan. That's really not his game, posting up. And that's the problem you run with this unit in the game. How are you going to create scoring?
Blair just too bulky for Amundsen. DeJuan Blair had a couple 20-point, 20-rebound games to his credit during his rookie season.
No ligaments, no problem. This guy is an absolute bull down in the paint.
Barbosa inside, swatted away by Blair. Parker. And it'll stay at this end of the floor. No foul call, just San Antonio ball.
Well, again, another transition opportunity for the Spurs. They're pushing the basketball.
And Alvin Gentry is not going to stay with this entire second unit group for very long. Grant Hill is going to come back into the game. And Amundsen will sit down.
I think he wanted a bigger body there on Blair. Put Channing Frye on Blair. Amundsen just not big enough to handle Blair down the post. Rebounding as well.
Hill will draw Ginobili. Ginobili got free behind a screen. Hill's given an earful to his teammate Jared Dudley there. A little miscommunication, and Ginobili was wide open. Dragic. Barbosa not much of a factor, especially in game 2. Hill another pull-up jumper. And Phoenix now down by 12, nearly 2 minutes into the second quarter. Pass knocked away. It's between the legs of Bonner as he goes sliding down the court with it, and it'll be Phoenix ball.
The World Cup's in a month, isn't it? I love the play. If we're in the World Cup.
And even Bonner's trying to suppress a smile right now after that play as he looks over in your direction. That's a good one.
That was a nice play.
Yeah.
Brought it right to himself.
That's A for creativity right there.
Yeah, I could see Steve Nash pulling that off. Not Bonner, but he looked pretty fleet of foot there. Alexi Lawless there.
Yeah. The Red Rocket showing us some skills we didn't know he had.
Well, Dragic really struggling. 2 of 13 now in this series.
Dudley inside called for the foul. Dudley is as tall as DeJuan Blair, but probably given up about 30 or 35 pounds in that matchup, and Dudley's not a small man.
No, but this guy's got some superior strength, and we're seeing Amari Stoudemire back in the game. Alvin Gentry pulling the plug on this bench unit. He just senses they don't have it right now. The game's at 12. He cannot let this thing get any further.
He likes to rest Steve Nash from the beginning of the second quarter until the 6-minute mark, and the same thing in the fourth. He likes to get Nash a full 12 minutes out of the game. Blair inside, right over Stoudemire.
Well, that's just absolute power. Just backed him down, bogarted him. Amari Stoudemire under the basket, no chance to block the shot.
Dudley for 3. Blair a rebound. He's been a difference maker so far tonight. Hill with a pull-up jumper. DeJuan Blair with a huge impact so far here at game 3. Rebounding, scoring, defending, just knocking people down when they get in his way. George Hill responding to the challenges. He knocks down the jumper. It's all Spurs. Touch Smart PC playoff brackets. And with that win that Mark Jones has told you about, Cleveland now up 2-1 on the Celtics. Game 3 tomorrow night on ESPN at 5 Eastern. The series shifts to Atlanta. The Lakers in Utah go to Salt Lake City tomorrow night on ABC at 8 Eastern. The Lakers are up 2-0. This is Game 3 tonight from San Antonio. Game 4 Sunday night on TNT. The number 3 seed Phoenix, the number 7 seed San Antonio, as they knocked off the number 2 seed Dallas Mavericks in the first round in 6 games. Stoudemire's had a tough night so far. Immediate double team on him, and he's got to get rid of it. Barbosa got to get a shot off soon. And it'll be a shot clock violation on the Suns, who are all out of sorts offensively tonight.
I wonder why, Dan. Have you heard of Steve Nash? He has a tendency to get teams pretty good looks. And yeah, you're right. They're all out of sorts. Double teaming Amari Stoudemire, making somebody else make a play. And with this unit, they really don't have guys that can make plays.
The Suns have missed 8 of their last 9 shots. Parker. Hill. Barbosa stays right with him. And that ball kicked.
The San Antonio Spurs, it's amazing what happens when you see the ball go in. And now we see Steve Nash back in. Alvin Gentry knows that they've got to get better shots and get this thing back to respectability here soon.
And again, this is earlier than Alvin Gentry, given a choice,
yes,
would like to get Nash back into the game. He likes to rest him until the 6-minute mark, keep his minutes down.
And I was talking about the Spurs, and when you see the basketball go in, Bonner makes a couple shots, Ginobili makes a couple threes. It's amazing. The intensity level goes up on both ends of the floor. Now Tony Parker in the act with his patented points in the paint, one of the best in the business. And you just feel good about yourself when the ball goes in early, and that's exactly what's happened here tonight.
These two teams have met 4 times in the playoffs since 2003 as Barbosa scores. San Antonio has won all 4 of those series. Sometimes they were the better team. Sometimes the Suns had some bad luck or some injuries. As Tony Parker spins inside. The foul on Blair as Barbosa scores at this end of the court. And from Nash's bloody nose to the suspensions after Ori hip check Nash, to the Duncan 3 the next year. These two teams, even though a lot of the personnel has changed, obviously, these two teams very familiar with one another. Maybe their fans are more familiar with one another. Parker inside again. And it'll be a foul on Stoudemire. And Parker a little slow to get up.
He's coughing. I don't know if he landed on his kidney or something. Elbow. Well, Stoudemire just standing in the restricted area. And, ooh, nasty fall on the elbow there.
Yeah, whether it's a wrist or an elbow. Boy, he's lucky not to be hurt.
Stoudemire trying to avoid the contact, but Parker, who does such a great job of getting that contact. And again, another foul on the Suns.
The NBA playoffs continue on ESPN and ABC tomorrow night. The action begins on ESPN at 5 Eastern. Dwight Howard and the Magic up 2-0 on Joe Johnson and the Hawks. And then at 8 o'clock Eastern on ABC, it'll be Game 3 between the Lakers and the Jazz. Coverage begins at 4:30 Eastern with the Kia NBA shoot-around. And John Berry, the busiest man in television, will be in the ABC studio tomorrow night on that San Antonio Hartford nonstop, right?
Yeah, right.
Not so much. Hustle in the back to do studio tomorrow night. Well, Blair, another foul.
Finally a foul on the Spurs. That's 9-3 in fouls. And credit San Antonio for playing good position defense. And Phoenix not playing the pick and roll well. Tony Parker's exploited the lane. Manu Ginobili.
JB Ginobili on Nash right now. Parker's on Barbosa. Nash frees himself behind the screen, but misses the shot. Parker full head of steam going right back to the rim, and he draws another foul.
Again, pushing on misses. That's not your typical fast break. It seemed everybody was back, but go ahead and push the basketball, and Tony Parker gets all the way into the paint. Can't happen if you're Phoenix.
Barbosa with the foul. Parker right back to the free throw line. He has put up some big numbers so far in this series, and as Alvin Gentry said, even though he wasn't starting, he was playing starters minutes. came into this game having scored 46 points in the first 2 games of this series. Even though he came off the bench in both, he's getting about 35, 36 minutes a game.
Yeah, he started both second halves and basically came in the game about the 8-minute mark of the first quarter. So, yes, he didn't start, but certainly played starter minutes. And he's missed 4 straight free throws.
That's unbelievable. Parker, a 76% free throw shooter during the regular season, 0 for 4 tonight.
You wonder if that elbow was affected by those falls. He fell on it again that time.
Yep. Stoudemire driving on Blair. Banks one home. Amare Stoudemire finally with his first field goal of the night.
Well, that was better spacing there by Phoenix. If he's going to get one-on-one coverage, he's got to take advantage. Nice job there. He took his time, and he can get any shots he wants against DeJuan Blair. He's got a certain quickness advantage.
Ginobili into the role of quarterback here. Jefferson from the corner. Rebound Nash. Barbosa. And a bump by Jefferson. Another San Antonio foul.
Well, that's a good push by Steve Nash. Good defense on the other end. Force Jefferson into the jump shot. Get the ball out and run. Leandro Barbosa, one of the best in the open court. Give him a chance there. He can get to the basket for you that time. Forces Jefferson into the foul. Don't deviate from the game plan if you're Phoenix. Don't panic. 13-point game. Plenty of time.
Log on to NBA.com now for the most extensive playoff coverage and in-depth highlights of tonight's Suns Spurs matchup, as well as up-to-date scores, stats, and schedules from around the playoffs. We have a timeout on the floor. A very physical game so far here tonight. They're diving for loose balls. They're getting knocked down to the court. They're getting after it here tonight at the AT&T Center, but a game the Spurs desperately need to win. And time now for tonight's Cooler Talk, presented by Gatorade. May the 7th, quite a day in NBA history. Some incredibly huge moments. Reggie Miller, of course, with 8 points in about 9 seconds late in the game to beat the Knicks in a playoff game. Number 8 over number 1, the Denver Nuggets, upsetting the Seattle Supersonics in the first round. Who could never forget that shot from Dikembe Mutombo. And JB, one of the most famous shots in the storied career of Michael Jordan as he knocked out, broke the hearts of Cleveland Cavalier fans.
Craig Elo will always be remembered.
I wasn't going there.
Well, you shouldn't show that to Cleveland. They got a great win tonight.
That's true.
It's a happy night.
Yes. Here in San Antonio, Dan Schulman, John Barry, Rick Bucher. 13-point lead, Spurs over the Suns. Game 3, Phoenix up 2 games to none. San Antonio, you talk about winning the little battles, the 50-50 balls, diving on the floor. The Spurs have been doing more than their share of that so far tonight. Barbosa misses the second. McDyess is back in as he corrals the rebound. Ginobili has gone to the bench. McDyess with some early jumpers to get San Antonio going. He scored the first 6 points of the game for the Spurs. Duncan has returned as well. Duncan, good patience inside, doesn't get the bounce. Nash had it partially blocked by McDyess. Parker hits the deck again. Parker turns the corner, finds the open man, McDyess. Not this time. And here comes Richardson.
Phoenix getting a lot of good looks, Dan. They got to keep playing the same way here as Richardson misses another chippy. They're getting good looks. Got to keep playing on the defensive end. And you get yourself back in this ball game.
Phoenix shooting only 34% to 52% for San Antonio. Right now, Nash finds himself defending Jefferson. Hill is on Hill as George Hill misses the jumper. Grant Hill comes down with a rebound. Now they even up the matchups a little bit, except for that one. Stoudemire over George Hill and a foul.
A great recognition there by Grant Hill. Pulled it out on the break on the wing. Saw that Stoudemire had a mismatch with George Hill. Lobs it in there perfectly passed, and George Hill has to take the foul.
Now, how does that happen? Was that just a case of none of the San Antonio bigs getting back quickly?
That's what happens in transition. Yeah. That's why transition is so dangerous for teams. You create mismatches. Teams aren't set on the defensive end. And that's where the Phoenix Suns are at their best, is in transition, as they had 25 transition points in the first game. And why can't anybody make a free throw here tonight?
As Greg Popovich told us, if the Spurs don't at least contain the Suns in transition, they got no shot. He thinks that's the number one thing to worry about at the defensive end. Duncan fouled by Stoudemire, and Duncan will shoot a couple of free throws. Alvin Gentry in the last Phoenix timeout.
Now we're working our way back in. We got to come up with stops, okay? Got to be stopped. We got to rebound it. We got to get out and run. It's a long, long game. You know that, guys. Long game.
7 consecutive missed free throws by the Spurs.
Goodness gracious.
5 of 14 overall. Yep. Looking up to the heavens, looking for an answer up there. Some divine intervention, perhaps.
There.
And he gets the bounce. And you can hear how the crowd reacts here at the AT&T Center.
We haven't seen the high pick and roll. Excuse me, Dan. There it is. That's exactly why you run that high pick and roll and why it is so dangerous. Amari rolls. They have to respect that, and you leave a wide open three-point shooter, Barbosa, out on the wing.
And that brings the deficit down to single digits for the first time in a long time.
Well, that's a play, Dan, that Alvin Gentry decided to save until late in the fourth quarter in both games 1 and 2. But he knows that they're in trouble right now. They got to get some points. And we saw it right there.
It'll stay with the Spurs. 4 on the shot clock as Ginobili comes back into the game. Parker will sit down.
You always talk about Stockton and Malone. But Nash Stoudemire, to me, is as deadly as Stockton and Malone.
Duncan follows up his own miss. Can't convert. And the Suns come up with it.
Channing Frye with a piece of that first one there. Good defense. And looky here. Suns right back in this thing.
Good ball movement. Spacing the floor. Lots of shooters. In and out for Nash. Nash just 2 for 8 so far tonight.
Yeah, that's a great look. Great ball movement. Barbosa attacked the closeout. Got in the lane. Got Steve Nash a great look. You take it every time.
Frye defending Duncan. The double team from Stoudemire. Hill bumped by Barbosa. And Hill will shoot a couple.
You got to do a better job when you're closing out. George Hill, capable three-point shooter. But you'd rather have him take a contested three-point shot than get into the middle of your lane.
So George Hill to the line for a couple of free throws.
A terrific season for George Hill. I had him as my most improved. I thought he was terrific. Tony Parker goes out of the lineup for the last 6 weeks of the season, and George Hill stepped in, and this team started playing the best basketball of the year. Quality kid. He plays great defense, can shoot the basketball, great athlete. He's going to be a nice player for the San Antonio Spurs for a long time.
Greg Popovich doesn't gush, but when he talks about George Hill, sometimes he gushes. He talks about his ability to guard point guards, guard guys like Kobe Bryant, guard Kevin Durant when they played Oklahoma City in a late regular season game. The one thing Greg Popovich is on George Hill to do is consistently to be more aggressive. Don't defer to the older guys. They need him to attack. Wide open look. What happened there?
Yeah, well, that was a miscommunication. You don't leave Jason Richardson stone cold open there in the corner. And just like that, the Suns back within 8.
Richardson's got 14. Continues a great postseason. Jefferson fadeaway jumper over Hill. No rebound. Frye. The Suns can get closer.
How about Grant Hill? His defense right there. Great contest. He's guarded Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker. Now he's on Jefferson. Well, Grant Hill, you can't say enough about the things this guy does.
Jefferson on Nash. Bounce pass inside to Stoudemire.
It's so deflating if you're the San Antonio Spurs. You're in complete control of this ball game, and now you look up, it's a 6-point ball game, and the Phoenix Suns have not shot the ball well. They will shoot the ball well. This is the best shooting team in the NBA.
It's a 15-3 run for Phoenix. The Spurs have missed their last 6 shots, make it 7. Knocked out of Duncan's hands. San Antonio ball with a fresh 24 on the clock.
And the Phoenix Suns, no give up. You heard Alvin Gentry say it's a long game, and here's Steve Nash doing what he does best. No look to Amari Stoudemire for the flush. Right hand, left hand, it doesn't matter. And Amari feeling good about himself, and the Suns are right back in this thing, Dan.
Phoenix making a run. They are back within 6. Less than 3 minutes to go here in the first half. Steve Nash coming back into the game. One of the reasons why the Suns made a charge. Tony Parker's got nothing but praise for Nash.
He's one of the best point guards in the league, and every time I play against him, I want to play my best. He's been very successful. He's good at everything. He's a great shooter, great passer, great pick-and-roll player, and for me, he's a good example. And I watch a lot of tape of him because he's one of the best.
And here's a comparison of their numbers tonight. Nash is not shooting the ball well. What you don't see there is that Tony Parker's missed all 4 of his free throws, but still they have both been instrumental in various ways, JB, in what little offense their teams have had tonight. This is a much lower scoring game than the first 2 games.
Well, it is, and I think Phoenix, they're getting very good looks. San Antonio, if they not struggle from their free throw line, they'd have 50 points, but you know, this Parker-Nash matchup, we haven't seen a whole lot of it because in years past, Bruce Bowen was always the guy guarding Steve Nash. Parker and Nash didn't match up as much as you might think.
Duncan banks it home. Big basket for the Spurs. Duncan now with 8 all night, 9 rebounds well. Channing Frye, a quiet night so far for Phoenix. Nash inside. Stoudemire. Frye for 3.
Great swing by Amari Stoudemire. Did not hesitate. Knew he had a shooter over there, but all set up by Steve Nash penetration.
Channing Frye had made 23s in his career before this year. That's his 188 this season, including regular season. Stoudemire is fouled by Duncan, and there'll be free throws coming for Amari Stoudemire.
You know, Richard Jefferson has really struggled all season long. It just seems like he hasn't fit in. And primarily because he's not a spot jump shooter. And we've seen him miss now his last 3 jump shots. And when you play with Ginobili, you play with Parker and Tim Duncan, you surround them by guys that are spot shooters. I mean, you think about all the years they had great spot 3-point shooters, mid-range shooters, you know, with Robert Ory's and Brent Barry's. I'll have to give my brother credit. I'm sorry.
Nice job. Yep.
But they're not equipped like that anymore. Right. And they brought in guys like Bogans, and Roger Mason played terrific last year. He really struggled this season, but they don't have those spot shooters to surround Tim Duncan and Ginobili and Parker. And Richard Jefferson is quite simply not that type of guy.
Stoudemire 1 of 2. Phoenix just 2 of 6 from the line. San Antonio 8 of 17 from the line. And Phoenix, which looked like they might get blown out early, the biggest lead of the game was 18 for the Spurs. It's down to 4 right now. Nice pass from Duncan to Ginobili. The lead back to 6, and a Phoenix turnover.
Well, we talked about how this is a different Suns team. In years past, 18-point lead, that might have been it. But this is a team that can defend, and that's why they've gotten themselves back in this ballgame. It's not that they're outscoring San Antonio. They've gotten some stops.
Ginobili. Duncan cannot run it down. They played much better defense, really, in the second half of the season. They closed the season very well. Alvin Gentry said after game 2 that was the grittiest win that he has seen as a coach or assistant coach in Phoenix. And again, we talked about words like grit and toughness and defense and rebounding. You don't normally say those words about the Suns, but they deserve some credit, right?
Oh, absolutely. He's completely changed the culture. As you see, a great look by Amari Stoudemire. And that guy right there is a big part of it. Amari Stoudemire has matured immensely over the last season. He has been terrific. He's been one of the best players in the NBA in the second half of the season.
Potentially a free agent at the end of the season. He's got a player option. Will be one of the interesting stories in a very interesting offseason. Tim Duncan answers for the Spurs.
You know, they are a much improved defensive team, and they're going to give up over 100 because they create so many possessions. That's a misleading number. Their field goal percentage defense was in the top 10 in the NBA.
A travel on Grant Hill. Coming up on the Toyota halftime show, Mark Jones, Jamal Mashburn, Avery Johnson will look at LeBron's dominating performance in a Game 3 win over the Celtics, and also Tigers Day at the TPC. Into the final minute of the first half. Duncan this time with Fry on it. Nash the double team. George Hill the open jumper.
Good double team. They're not giving Tim Duncan a steady diet. They'll play him isolation, one-on-one sometimes. Sometimes they'll come on the pass. Sometimes they'll come on the dribble for those double teams. Good double there by Steve Nash.
And is it Parker called for the foul inside?
Yeah, Grant Hill trying to post him up. They saw a mismatch there.
Penalty situation, so free throws coming for Hill.
Yeah, I'd have some concern if I'm San Antonio. Phoenix will not shoot the ball this poorly in the second half. And yet here we are with a chance to cut this thing to 4. Going into the half. This is a different team. I can't tell you. The differences are crazy. This is a team that shows so much resolve. They go to their bench, although the bench didn't do their part tonight. Complete makeover of Amari Stoudemire, Steve Nash now a defensive guy, Grant Hill a defensive guy, Jason Richardson. These are all guys that weren't known for playing defense, but they are doing it. They are a defensive unit, and Greg Popovich said, look, we can't outscore this team like we thought we used to be able to do, like we knew we used to be able to do. There are so many other things now that we have to worry about, and that's why they find themselves down 2-0 and had a great ball game here in Game 3.
A 4-point game here, the final possession of the half to San Antonio as they try to hold for a good look. Ginobili, 2 seconds left. Yes! So Ginobili knocks down a big basket to give the Spurs a little momentum heading into halftime. At once an 18-point lead. The Suns got it down to 4. It is 6 right now after that basket by Manu Ginobili. Jason Richardson, the high scorer in the game with a 14. Rick Bucher is with Manu Ginobili.
Thank you, Manu. You guys came out like a house on fire. What happened?
Well, we started playing very aggressively. We blitzed everybody. And offensively, we moved the ball. We attacked the rim, got some fouls. The problem was in the second quarter where we kind of slowed down. They understood our defense, and they started picking us apart, and they are really good at it. So we got to improve for the second half.
What specifically do you have to pick up in the third quarter to get back to the way you were?
We got to be very sharp defensively because we're not the best shooting, three-point shooting team in the league and probably ever. So as long as we are not aggressive rotations and we don't bother Nash on the passes, it's really hard to rotate. They're all shooters. So we got to step out there.
Thank you, Manu. We'll see you in the second half. Back to you, Dan.
All right, Rick, thank you very much. Big basket at the end of the half by Ginobili, but still it was the Suns making a big charge late to make a game of it. The Toyota halftime show is coming up next year on ESPN, including a look at Cleveland's dominating win over the Celtics earlier tonight. The Suns look like they were in trouble early, but a good finish in the second half. And we got a game here at the AT Center with San Antonio leading by 6.